Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing some invasions on a new build. I don't have a name for this one. It's kind of just a lightning holy damage build with a decent strength investment. The weapons we're using are the Dragon's Great Claw in the right hand, which does lightning damage, and then we've got Leader's Sword in the left hand, which does holy damage. With a level 70 build, we've got 40 Vigour, 30 Strength and 37 Faith. But if you look at our talismans, we're using the Radagon Saw Seal, the Two Fingers Heirloom and the Star Scourge Heirloom. I'm really trying to get as many extra stats as I can. Extra Faith, extra Strength and extra Strength and Endurance with the Radagon Saw Seal. The Colossal weapon we're using here requires, 30 Strength, and then we've got some incantations on the build which require a lot of Faith. I've got a seal in the second weapon slot on my left hand, then I've got Golden Vow, we've got Wrath of Gold, we've got the Giant Golden Arc, and then we've got this absolutely awesome Ash of War, the Knight's Lightning Spear. Bosh, look at that thing of beauty. All of the incantations that we're using are all lightning and holy damage incantations, so you can see it's a lightning and damage based build overall. The Dragon's Great Claw has got Endure, and I just love Endure guys, it's just the best, it's the best Ash of War in the game. But anyway, yeah, nice little build guys, let's get into the invasions and have a look how we get on. Alright guys, so you join this invasion as I'm just harassing this wizard as he's trying to climb these ladders to get away. I had a little bit of trouble with that bat, just so rudely blocking the view there. Weren't even thinking about my camera, just hovering away, flapping his stupid wings, couldn't see anything. But I just kept throwing those big fire pots. And then, I just chased the wizard up here and he's dead. Simple as that boys. He weren't paying attention. I hit him with that big lightning incantation. And now I've just gone and got caught up to his mate. Two wizards. What do you get when you put two wizards in a castle? Well, you get one of them just completely abandoning his friend and running off into the open field, while the other one gets stuck with me and a load of NPCs up there in the big tower, a load of enemies, and he's just dead. And now it's a one-on-one between me and this other little wizard with a stupid Burger King helmet on. I eat a little bit of damage there on the drill spell, but I didn't want to back away, I just wanted to stay in his face because I knew he was going to swing away and I knew my Colossal would outpoise his little axe that he was using, and he was just going to take a load of damage and we got the win. Now this is an interesting build guys. The Dragon Colossal weapon that we're using in the right hand, you never really see people using it. It's not the best Colossal weapon out there, but look at the state of it guys, it just looks so cool, so I really wanted to try and put it on a build and try and build around it and make it work. Now one of my friends did point out to me that it would be quite a good weapon to invest some dex into it because of the lightning damage that it does, and that's a really good point, if you just did minimum strength and then really buff the dex up on a build, you could probably get a lot more damage out of it. But on this build I just didn't have the spare points to do that. As you saw from the intro when I was talking about the build guys, it's quite a stat heavy build and I didn't want to take it above level 100, I wanted to try and keep it as low as possible. So between the Colossal weapon that we're using and the incantations that all require some big point investment, I just didn't have any extra points to be putting into dex to try and buff the damage on that Colossal weapon. So it's just kind of minimal stats to be able to use a Colossal and be able to use the incantations. But I mean guys, don't get me wrong, it's still doing some decent damage at this level. And then, I've paired it with the Leader's Sword in the left hand. Now that's just to suit the theme of the holy and lightning damage that we're doing on this one. Really nice little combination. I've made a build in the past that focused on holy and lightning damage. It was different to this, different style of build, but still it worked. In the flask, which I didn't actually show at the start of the video, I'm using the Flask of Wondrous Physic to buff the lightning and holy damage. So we are getting some good damage returns. And the Leader's Sword in the left hand, you might not think that a light greatsword in the offhand would work that well, but it actually does work quite well. As you can see in this invasion, you still get some really nice combo strings with it in the left hand, and having Endure on the colossal dragon claw weapon that we're using, it's not, you know, some might say actually that it's not the best Ash of War to have on this build, but I actually really like Endure. I said it at the start, I think it's my favourite Ash of War. So having the light greatsword in the left hand and Endure available on the right, it means that we can pop Endure on the dragon claw, and then maybe, if they stay in our face, get off a really nice chain combo with the light greatsword in the left hand, because we're enduring through all of their attacks and landing some big damage. Now guys, this invasion was a really good one. Take note of how many there are here. There's 4 of them, so it's a 4-on-1. Bear in mind, a few of them are naked for some reason. And they take a lot of damage, as you're about to see. I just killed 2 of them. So from a 4-on-1, very quickly down to a 2-on-1. And one of them's still naked, but he's got a lot more health than the other guys did, who just instantly got deleted to that big golden explosion. But this turns out to be a hell of a good invasion. These two are working really well together. The naked guy with the big colossal there, he's putting me under a lot of pressure. The guy with the armour on, he's taking a bit more damage, but they're backing each other up really well. And the actual blender potential that these two have is quite, you know, quite real and needs to be watched and needs to be respected, because I do nearly die a couple of times in this one because of the blender. I've got low poise as well, guys. That's another problem with this build, is the low poise. Like I said, you know, I don't have loads of spare points, so I couldn't just buff up my endurance to wear some heavier armour. I've got to kind of make do with lightweight armour and lack of poise. But the kind of like the endurance helps me with that. You know, Endure is always good to make up for a lack of poise on the build. I often get, you know, knocked out of animations of the attacks of things when I'm not using Endure on this build, so the times when I make sure to use it, it helps a lot. Although I am very appreciative to have access to Endure on this build, it still has its drawbacks. It is on a colossal weapon, guys, so, you know, if you know anything about the difference between colossal and light weapons with the use of Endure, that would actually activate a lot quicker on a light weapon. With it being on a colossal, it does take a little moment for it to activate, so I am open to damage for a little bit longer. So although, you know, it helps me land damage, sometimes it actually makes me take more damage, so I've got to really kind of be careful of my health before I try to use it. I'll often like check my health, check my FP, make sure I'm in a good position to use Endure if I'm going to use it to try and get a combo off with the light greatsword, or if I'm going to try and use it like I did at the start of this invasion to poise through attacks to land a big incantation for some big damage. I often make sure that I'm topped up on my health before I try to do that. That is a big point of this build that I always make sure of. Speaking of drawbacks of this build, another one is the FP. I don't have a lot of FP on this build. Again, it's just lack of points investments. If I was like a higher level, I could have maybe pumped more into the FP, but like I say, I wanted to keep it within level 100, so I didn't want to go putting a load of extra points into the FP. So that's something I have to juggle constantly and constantly manage throughout these invasions. I often, you know, will run out of FP if I don't keep an eye on it. I often kind of think ahead when I'm fighting on this build, and I'll think, you know, what am I going to try to do here? Do I want to endure? Do I want to pop a couple of incantations? Okay, let's do that, but do I have enough FP? So I'll have to take a little step back, look at the situation. Do I need to take a blue flask before I try to do anything? You know, that's the kind of thing you have to think about with this one. But it makes it more fun, guys. Look at these two, by the way. Level your vigour, boys. Level your vigour. But yeah, lack of FP is something to think about. You know, you've got to think about it before you're going to try and throw any kind of combos together. It's all part of the fun of having a low level build, guys, and making the most out of the stat allocation that you actually have. It makes it a lot more interesting than just going really high level and having ultimate access to all the FP, all the endurance. It's what build making is all about, in my opinion, guys. Sometimes it's nice to go high level, but a lot of the times it's really fun to think of a build, think of a weapon that you want to build around, and kind of like, how can I make this work within a reasonable level range? Well, I still have some drawbacks, but you know, it works at the end of the day. The build works, but it's not perfect, it's not overpowered. I have a lot of things I have to juggle and think about during the invasions, but it makes it all the more interesting. Now this was a really weird invasion, right? I'm fighting these two, and this guy coming in now, I don't know what his deal was, but he just doesn't take hardly any damage. And I don't mean like he's got a lot of, you know, he's got a good build and he's got some good investment in his vigour. He's literally barely taking any damage. You know, I know that over level phantoms aren't really a thing in Seamless, so I was sure that he weren't massively over leveled. Then I was wondering, like, has he literally just poured all of his points into vigour because he's really not taking damage? I was thinking, was he cheating? Has he tweaked his stats slightly? But I just couldn't work it out, guys. I think maybe he just poured all of his points into his vigour. But either way, this was a fun invasion because I've got this guy who's not taking any damage, he's constantly pressuring me, and then I've got the guy who I've just shot the lightning at now. He's clearly taking a lot more damage, so he's just become my prime target. My only aim and goal for this invasion, once it started, was to kill him. I just wanted to get one of them down, and then I'd just figure out what to do once I'd got that one kill. I knew it was going to be a tough one to deal with the other guy. He's just constantly pressuring me, keeping the attacks coming in. He can afford to get in my face, he's got more poise than me. He's not doing a ton of damage, but he can take any attacks that I'm throwing out, and he can keep the damage going in. As you can see now, he's just stood in my face, and he's just dishing out the damage constantly. So I just made it a personal little goal to kill the other guy, and then I'd be happy, and then we'd just see what happens, you know. So you can see he's taking a lot more damage. I kind of attacked too early there, maybe I could have killed him in that instance. His mate's constantly backing him up. Well, let's just watch and see what happens. You can see, man, he's taking a full lightning bolt to the face there, the follow-up attack and everything, and again now he takes both hits of that, but it barely touches him. It barely touches him. I just wasn't sure what this guy's deal was. I don't want to say that he was cheating or he's tweaked his build using, you know, PC things that are available. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to think that maybe he's just poured all of his points into his endurance, into his vigour, sorry. But either way, who knows? Now I managed to get a good couple of hits there. His friend stayed in my face for too long, and I managed to kill him. So I got the job done. I need to pop a Starlight Shard here, sorry. I'm out of FP. It's been a long invasion, this one. I've edited it down a lot, but it lasted absolutely ages. And you can see this guy's got Bloodhound Step as well, so he was just taking the mickey, really. I just didn't know what to do with him. Couldn't do damage, could barely hit him with his Bloodhound Step. I did have the thought, actually, I'm not going to lie, guys, it did cross my mind to maybe just sever out of this invasion and leave. Not give him the satisfaction of killing me. But then I realised, no, that's not my style, boys. That's not something I do. I ain't going to just leave. I'm just going to throw down, ain't I? I'm just going to throw down. I had a little think here. This is when I was thinking, shall I just leave, you know? This guy's doing my head in. I'm not going to be able to kill him. I think I'll go in for a last little try here with the light greatsword. You can see, you know, I was just going to leave, guys. I knew I weren't going to win. But then I thought, no, that's not how we roll, boys. That's just not how we roll. And then I saw him do this, give me the finger one-on-one. I give it him back. And then we just go out like a true man, like a true champion. Endure, and then it's just a throw down to the death. I know I'm not going to win, but I'm going to go out all guns blazing. There we go. It was inevitable, boys. Absolutely inevitable. That was the only way that invasion was ever going to turn out, but I thought it was a good one to show. I was really pleased I managed to kill his friend. I did my own little personal goal for the invasion. But yeah, you know, what can you do against that? What can I possibly do against that? This was a good one. I get these two wizards. I think these are the two I actually had earlier on in the video, but only they're fighting together this time. His friend didn't abandon him. They're actually fighting as a pair. fair play to them. But the outcome is inevitable, especially after that last loss. I think this was genuinely the invasion straight after as well, so I was a little bit annoyed. These two were going to get it. No holds barred, no mercy. I just had that Schmeagol with all the health in the world, and I was going to make sure that I was going to win this next invasion, no matter what happens. So I can see that they're being super aggro on me here. I charged that Wrath of Gold, and it's a nice kill on one of them. And then it's just one wizard with a Moonveil left. I've still got to be careful because he's doing blood loss. Moonveil is a difficult weapon to face on the best of days, so I really do have to be careful here. Respect the Moonveil, respect the player. But yeah, one-on-one, this situation, after a loss like we just had in the last invasion, this guy had no chance. Little word for the fashion on this build as well, guys, before the video comes to an end. I really like the fashion on this one, actually. Like I say, massive lack of poise, lack of defences. It's not ideal, but from a fashion standpoint, I just can't complain. I absolutely love it. We all know that fashion is the most important thing in these games anyway. I don't care if I don't have poise as long as I look good. But anyway guys, this is the last invasion of the video. A bit of a mixed bag on this one. Some guys have got no vigour, some guys are just messing about, some guys give us a good fight, but overall we've had a really good time. Some good invasions, a fun build. Yeah, great stuff guys. Maybe consider subscribing if you've not subscribed, if you like the content. But look after yourselves guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all on the next one.